Well, they say Sunday is a fun day, and it becomes an even funner day when there's some cricket to watch. That's right. And if the Indian team is doing the kind of showing that it's doing right now, then it has the potential of being the funnest fun day. Yes, India and South Africa playing a T20I series in South Africa. 4-game series. India is ahead 1-0. The game on Friday, that was won comprehensively by India. Huge margin, basically on the back of Sanju Samson century. And of course, India will be looking at replicating that performance today and make it 2 on the trot. They are on a winning streak right now. Well, we're always on a winning streak because we got some winners with us right here on Cricbuzz Live. I've got Zaheer Khan, who's joining me in person. Zach, how are you?
Very well.
I've muted the TV right now, so DK can't say anything anymore. Just muted it. That's the advantage. When one of your colleagues wants to do work from home, you can just mute them.
Hello, DK. Good evening.
How are you, DK? How's it going?
Not bad at all. For a second, I really thought you did mute me, but it's good to know that you guys can hear me for a start.
Just kidding. We would never, ever mute you because the public would mutilate us if we muted you because they love you. This is Cricbuzz Live. I'm Gaurav Kapur. And of course, this is the second game that is happening at a location which Zach and I have tried for the last 3 hours to practice saying. We have failed spectacularly, so we're leaving it to our young friend Dinesh Karthik, who has the pronunciation down pat. Formerly known as Port Elizabeth, now known as
Ibarha.
अभी भी नहीं आया ना भाई?
नहीं.
हमसे नहीं हो पाएगा. चलो कोई बात नहीं.
Let's move on to the better things.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening in South Africa.
Which is the toss now. Hope it happens quickly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's happening in South Africa. So if you are not in South Africa, that's enough to tell you it's happening in South Africa, so it's okay. That's all you need to know. Well, we'll tell you about the conditions, though. I mean, since both these boys have played there, and they'll tell you there's a bit of cloud cover. Now, it is known as the Windy City. There's a lot of wind over there, and this cloud cover, it's fairly common. So, will we see a bit of a change in makeup? Will we see India maybe playing a spinner less and a fast bowler more?
I don't think. I think they've struck a good balance in that playing 11. You know, they have the options. They will still continue with the same playing 11. Markram, on the other hand, in South Africa, they'll have some work cut out in terms of thinking, in terms of strategies, how they should approach. If there is cloud cover, if the wicket is going to assist, if they win the toss, if they're bowling first again, then they'll have to use the proper resources, not start with the spinners in the power play.
Yeah.
You know, that's something which they can learn from the previous game. If they are able to do those tactical corrections in judgment from the previous game, then we will look at this game as homework well done, and they might see some other result as well. Fair.
We'll take the if away from your sentence because they have won the toss and they have chosen to bowl, so they're going to do that, and I think that's the change. I don't think they'll change the bowling lineup. Yes, DK, or do you see them changing that as well?
In an ideal world, they would like to. Because the last game, it was but too obvious that a couple of the bowlers, Similane and Patrick Kruger, did struggle. But also, if you jog your mind back a little bit, India played South Africa in the same venue almost 12 months back. In December, they played them. And who was the man of the match? Tabraiz Shamsi. He is not part of the squad. So they have gone for a very different wrist spinner. I don't know his first name. It's some Peter is his right way to put it. And he was obviously bowling to a solid Indian team, which we know can play spin well away from home. I think we need to add that correctly on good pitches.
Naughty.
But for the moment, I will be very keen to see if South Africa change. What are the resources they have to change? That is, again, are they going to get Philip Paklukwayo, or are they just going to hold on to the same 11? As a captain, when you're trying to transition a team, you want to give as much opportunities as possible as well.
Yeah, from the pitch report, our dear friend and colleague Sean Pollock at the pitch report had said that there is a cloud cover. So there could be some help for the seamers with that. But he also said there's could be help for the spinners. So basically, I don't know now.
No, sometimes when the pitch is damp, spinners also can get some assistance from the dampness of the surface. But we'll have to wait and see. We've seen both the Indian spinners have been very accurate, and they've been causing threat to the batters. So when you have that kind of advantage, sometimes the behavior of the pitch doesn't matter. It's a psychological advantage which the spinners will have. Varun Chakravarti does bring in that little bit of mystery element to his bowling that should work in his advantage.
Well, we'll have a look at the South Africa 11. They are going to be bowling first. So let's bring their 11 up on screen. We see there's one change. And yes, exactly what we had spoken about the other day. After the first game, that they will want to bolster their batting because, when you lose by 60 plus runs, you definitely want to get a little reinforcement to that. And they have done it. Reza Hendricks has come into the team. We'll pull the 11 back again. Kruger misses out, who DK just spoke about. So there's no Kruger. There is a Reza Hendricks. It'll be interesting to see if they play him at 3 or they open because he is, of course, been doing the opening. Maybe Markram comes in at 3 and everybody just moves one spot down, which means that people like Klaasen and Miller will be coming in at 5 and 6, and then Jansen at 7. We saw Gerald Coetzee last time actually. He really hits a long ball. Similar in the first ball, I think he faced, or the second ball he faced, he hammered that as well. So that'll give them a little bit, at least what Gerald Coetzee did last time will give them a little confidence of what he can do with the bat. But no surprise here with Reza Hendricks coming in and bolstering the top because their 1-2-3 has been a problem.
That was an expected change. We are expecting South Africa to maybe strengthen that batting lineup a little bit, reduce the bowling options. I think they had too many bowling options. When you're looking at this playing 11 now, their work is cut out. You know that they will be focusing more on getting the seamers in early as possible, and then maybe just 1 over of Markram is something which we'll look at. 2 spinners still, so it's a decent balance. In this format, we've seen, you've got to start well when you're playing against a strong side like India. You got to have you got to put your best foot forward and create that pressure right from the word go. When you're winning the toss, bowling first, the onus is on the bowlers to do the job for your team. And then the chasing becomes relatively easy. So the key is to restrict India to par or below par total in given conditions.
Yeah, and DK, when you look at that, just the fact that there's a little more experience of Reza Hendricks coming in at the top, it just means there's a little more breathing room for Klaasen and Miller and just setting up a better platform for them to finish because they will be chasing today.
Very true, GK. And this is exactly the batting order that they had even in the World Cup final. Reza Hendricks, then it was Quinton de Kock, here it'll be Ryan Rickelton, Markram at 3, Stubbs at 4, Klaasen and Miller to follow with Jansen at 7. They had the same kind and structure to the squad. Now this lengthens their batting. I think Reza Hendricks is a very valuable addition to that 11. He's someone who can bat well, very correct player and can take on if required. The last time they played in this ground, he got a quick fire 49. He was batting very well. And he is someone who uses the power play to his advantage, doesn't play too many shots that are away from the book, likes to play the cover drive, likes to cut the ball, but always you have intent coming from him, which is a good sign for South Africa. And we expected it. They had one too many bowlers. Zach spoke about it in the last game as well. They had way too many options to choose from. Here they have exactly the 6 options and Markram being the 6th bowler. So it is a place where they will be forced to bowl all their major bowlers a good run, and that's exactly what you want to see in a T20 as well.
Yeah, sometimes plenty is a problem that you don't want to have, and it kind of looked the way Markram was rotating the bowlers last time, that just played into India's hands, and after which Sanju Samson just took off and, well, there was no catching him. All right, the India 11, no surprise, after the kind of win that a team has, you don't want to upset anything in there. Nothing. You want to tie your shoelaces the same way. You want to put the left pad on before the right. Right, Zach? You don't want to... I'm not going to ask DK because I know he's very superstitious and does that anyway. But after a win, Zach, you don't want to change anything at all after that kind of win.
That's one thing going for Indian team, isn't it? The template is set. You have personnel change, but the way they're playing their cricket, that pretty much remains the same. They're going to go hard in those first 6 overs. They're going to look to set the tone for the game right from the word go. That is something which we've seen from this team. And it's very heartening to see. It's just the process which is getting better and better with every game, and especially in the bilateral series. We've seen that consistency, which any team will be very proud of their accomplishments.
Yeah, and if India wins today, there's a few things that will happen. Can't lose the series then because it's a 4-game series. I always find that very odd when the number of games is even, but that's what it is. The other thing that will happen is that the unbeaten streak for India goes to 12 games. Now, this is quite a serious streak, DK. It really is, considering how much personnel change has happened in these last 6 months. The fact is that the names have changed, but the game has not.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite an astounding stat, isn't it? Out of the top five, India are there 3 times. Also, you got to put into context, Afghanistan has done it 11 twice, but they've done it against associate nations a lot of the time. So it is a very differently skewed stat and tells you how India have pioneered this format. And thanks to IPL, they have always got ready set players and they play to a template. Before this World Cup, we always had this complaint that they show a lot of intent in bilaterals. Why don't they show it even in World Cups? And they did that in West Indies. We saw what the result was. But it is great to see India being the torchbearer in this format. It is a good sign and also tells you how strong a tournament the Indian Premier League is.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, look at that. I kid you not. Like, you see, there is a team, I think it left last night, it was probably leaving today for Australia. And you think, oh, your test team is going to Australia, your best players are going over there. Whatever happens, it'll be, is it a B team or, the leftover players that are going? No, sir. Not at all. You look at this squad, Zach, these are players that a dozen other teams would happily have in their T20 setup.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is what I was trying to say. It's become like a plug and play format for Indian team, especially in the T20 format. They have enough players as replacement players, the bench strength, you call it whatever. They will be able to fight in any given conditions.
Yeah.
It's just about setting that template. And you can see from this squad also, they've been trying to make that conscious effort. Like last time also we were touching upon the fact that where it's heading for the Indian team, they need all-rounders. So that is something which we've been seeing from the management, from the selectors, that conscious effort of bringing in, identifying those kind of players which will aid the efficiency in this format. You can have this balance which we're talking about. Where you're taking the conditions out. You're saying it's fine. Your playing 11 will be as balanced as possible, where you will have enough options, and that really helps with the role setting. It's easy. It becomes easier for the players also to prepare in a certain way. The communication becomes seamless, and then the results follow. And that's when you see all these streaks. The three times Indian team managed to get to 12. They're just one step closer to that now. But that's a staggering number in this format.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for any team to achieve these kind of numbers in this format.
Yeah.
And they are able to do that. It's only because of the kind of strength which they have in terms of players available for the selection and players being ready. Fearless players is something which you are seeing. This format brings out that element, and the franchise cricket certainly has helped Indian team here to put up such a squad.
DK, you had put your hand up like a good boy.
Yes. No, what I want to speak about is, if you do look at that squad, Indian squad, the one thing is obvious. It's becoming a bit too obvious that there are too many T20 players and they're demarketed that way. And I think that's how this game is moving. You're going to find T20 professionals. Very few from this team will be able to make it to the test team, leave alone test, even one-day team at times. I think that's where the T20 format is definitely moving away from the other formats. You might see the odd one-day international player doing well in test cricket or going into the test team, but you'll slowly see that the T20 format players will be a niche of their own. There'll be T20 products, there'll be T20 specialists, and they will play with the intent and with the kind of form that is required to get into a national team. And the practice itself is so different. When you're practicing for T20 cricket these days, it's very specific. What's your role? What do you want to achieve? How do you go about doing that? And I think that is happening for sure.
The margin for error also in T20 cricket is much, much smaller. In fact, I think we discussed this on Cricbuzz Live. We've been talking about it for a few years actually on Cricbuzz Live, the Hindi show and the English show, both. Where I remember bringing up this point saying that actually one-day cricket is closer to test cricket than to T20 cricket. right? You keep saying white ball and you bundle them together, but actually one-day cricket is closer in terms of the principles, in terms of the way you practice and way the game is set up. T20 is just another beast altogether, and somehow India has just managed to crack this code. Well, not somehow. You're seeing how it's being done. The riches from the IPL, the abundance from the IPL, the experience from the IPL is now being taken, and this squad of T20 specialists, as DK is saying, has been made for this Indian team. It's almost like T20 mercenaries who are just going out and doing that job. And that's something that Sanju Samson, the player of the match from the previous game, the century hitter, he spoke about as well. This is a long quote plate. I've broken it up into three because there's a lot of interesting things said here. He said, I faced a lot of failures in my career. I think when you go through that failure, you have a lot of doubts in your mind. People say that social media plays a role, but you also think a lot about yourself. Things like Sanju, you are not made for the international level. I know he's had to hear a lot of that. So at that time, I received a lot of phone calls from Gautam Gambhir, Suryakumar Yadav, coach and captain, telling me what to work on. They said, your spin is a little bit like that. You collect all the spinners in Kerala and practice in rough wickets there. You do this, you do that. So they gave him advice at that time. So if your Indian team's captain is calling you and telling you how to practice after a duck, then you have confidence that the captain is trusting you. He wants you to do well. So I think all those small things play a huge role. I want to ask DK that he's captained a T20 franchise recently. He's been part of a team. He's been part of the Indian team, the previous World Cup. This is such a good point what Sanju has brought up, because the faith that a captain and coach put in you can literally make you from like 10% to 90%, right? It can just kind of unleash you.
I think Sanju is the first player that this regime has earmarked and said, we want this guy. And it's very obvious because he didn't start well. They backed him. They gave him a time frame saying, we will give you X number of games. You will open irrespective of whatever happens, which was 7 in this case, 3 against Bangladesh, 4 against South Africa. Go ahead and do your bit. He failed in the first 2 games against Bangladesh. Can't say failed, but didn't get big runs, but got 100. And then again, he's backed it up with 100. We all knew what talent he has got, but it is great to see what happens when talent is backed with pressure, or rather pleasure, from the captain and the coach saying, yes, we want this guy. And Sanju is a great example, because social media does play a role, GK. You can't run away from it. No matter what you say, it is a very integral part of your life. A lot of people move away from social media. Then that is slightly different. But even then, if it has to reach you certain things, it will reach you. But in Sanju's case, why I bring it up is, people say he has a lot of fan following. But with that comes pressure. After the likes of Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli's, Hardik Pandya, KL Rahul, he is probably one of the most talked about cricketers on social media. He comes from a small state. He's achieved a lot in IPL as a leader as well. He's very well backed. So that is backing. When he is doing well, it comes as backing. When he's not doing well, the other things follow, the negative press and all of that. And that, I think, he's had a lot to deal with.
Yeah, but I want to ask you, DK, because you've been an active player on the international circuit till very recently. Does it happen to you, like on a good day or on a bad day? What do you do with social media? What's your discipline with it?
So for the first, let's say up until 2019, I used to be an avid social media fan, actually. I used to, go and see. I thought I had all the wherewithals. I've been around so much longer than all these guys. So I thought, cool, yeah, what happens if I do well? I'll go read all the things. In fact, Richard Hadley said, when you do well, take and read all the headlines and be happy about it. When you don't do well, don't even go close to it. So I thought I'll do one better and I'll go close to it even if I don't do well. But it started getting to me. Around the 2019 mark, I kind of moved away from it. When I did well, I wasn't too engaged. When I didn't do well, I moved away in such a way that I didn't get. By the time I came to 22-23, which was the IPLs, I used to switch off my social media during my tournament playing days. And luckily, I got into broadcasting and I understood the other side of it as well. So in a nutshell, does social media play a role in your mind? For sure. If anybody is saying no, I would be very surprised, unless you're living under a rock.
Sorry, I want to ask Zach that, because from your playing days where there was no social media, right, to now, and I know you work with a lot of youngsters, so you'll have an insight on that as well. Talk to me about the difference in terms of kind of, public pressure.
Look, I think, from going by Sanju Samson's statements, what he's trying to communicate as well, that there is a mental battle as well, and it's just part and parcel of being a professional cricketer. You got to fight these battles. There are some battles which you have to fight internally for you to be ready and deliver at the highest level. But when things are not going your way, or the ideal scenario is not happening the way you would like, that's where these external factors start playing. You know, the doubts which he's talking about, and you got to find those answers. You know, the only way to deal with this is for you to be ready and go out there and deliver and perform. And suddenly everything changes. You know, so when you're talking about the criticism, if it's constructive, then one should take that in your strides. I always used to make sure that I read things which have written against me.
Oh wow, you did.
Or something which is when you're doing well, everyone is raving about your performances, everyone is talking good about you. But when you are down, if someone is talking, sometimes you might get a point which is going to help your game. So I used to look at it that way. So criticism for me was always looked at being constructive. Even if it's even if harsh words are used to describe that. So it's a very individual approach to all these things. Some players crack under pressure. Some people really feel the weight of all these external factors, and some players actually love to take it on. And flourish under pressure. So it depends on you got to find your comfort, you got to find your balance, and make sure that you are ready for the battle.
The difference is that about 15 years or 20 years ago, the constructive criticism that Zach talks about used to be in newspapers where you would actually get constructive criticism. There were actually thinkers who were writing at that point in time. On social media, today, not as much. Don't come at me. No, put your phones down. Don't tweet me. But that's perhaps the difference, where 15 years ago you could just tell the hotel no newspapers and put the news channels off, and that's it. You were shut out from the world. Now it just, as DK says, it tends to find you. All of this can tend to find you, right? DK, that's a big difference.
Yeah, and also a very interesting point made by Zach. I know a couple of players who I have played with, interacted with, have a very similar attitude. One is Stephen Fleming. When I asked him about, not when I asked him, I asked Brendan McCullum. So Stephen Fleming was like that. He always used to read the bad things written, any article that was written not in favor of him or his team where he was leading, then he would read to get feedback. Now, Brendan McCullum, when he was a player, used to be very oblivious to it. He just kept away. But he had a doubt what to do when he was a captain. Like, how do I figure out how to take my team forward? How can I get better? Whatever. So he again was instructed, because Fleming and Brendan McCullum are friends. Fleming told him that read anything that is not right written about you so that you'll get a perspective of it. Now, when it comes to the Indian team, again, two very different approaches. I know Rohit Sharma, who completely switched off his social media to the extent even WhatsApp was off during the World Cup, the 2023 One-Day World Cup. And he switched it off completely. Also, I think people are haggling him for tickets. That is one thing. But also WhatsApp. Suryakumar, on the other hand, reads anything and everything. He says it doesn't affect him. He's very cool with it. So very different approaches. I think you can't, different strokes for different folks is what I can say.
Yeah, well, talking about pressure, and Sanju Samson talking about pressure, well, he has handled it so well. As soon as he become opener, we spoke about this at the end of the last game, that we talk about taking to it like a fish to water. He's taken to it like a shark to water, 200s back to back. That innings last time, a 200 plus strike rate century, when you score, you know your team is going to end up winning more than losing when you have an innings like that. Zach, DK, if I was to ask you to pick a favorite shot of his in that, there was one six he hit over cover. It's just, there were many sixes.
That's the one. I think the shot which he hit against Keshav Maharaj.
Yeah.
That was some shot, because he was not in position to play that shot. He was way away. DK will explain it better. But he still managed to time it so well, and it went all the way for six.
There's something about him that brings the word makhan to mind, doesn't it, DK?
I think it's a very apt adjective to use, even though makhan is not an adjective, because of the way he hits sixes with very minimal effort, Gaurav. That's why you feel that way. Yeah. And if you go through his process and you speak to the guy, the one thing is obvious. Where he likes to practice a lot is in Nagpur, at the Royals Academy, where he goes and spends a lot of time, hits a million balls, and he's made a lot of his technical changes, which is very suited to playing this format, which is trying to have a wider base when you're looking to hit the ball, his hands going as straight, going through the line of the ball, and he focused a lot on six hitting. That's why you see the positions he gets into, and the shot that Zach chose, a very good shot, because he stepped out to Keshav Maharaj, missed the length of the ball. Actually, Keshav Maharaj did brilliantly to beat him in the air, but still held his position and just waited on the shot and hit him over covers. Now that tells you a man who, when he misses the length, doesn't panic. He's able to hold that extra second. It's a very tough skill to have, but he does it very well, and that's what makes him so special.
I mean, we saw those stats there. So I guess the question that comes to is obviously he's doing really well as opener, right? Now we all know that with T20 cricket in India at this point in time, Zach, there is a traffic jam at the top, right? The names that are not featuring, Yashasvi Jaiswal, Shubman Gill, Rituraj Gaikwad, Rishabh Pant has been playing at 3 as well, right? So these are the people who are not there. Now, given this performance and the backing that he's got from coach and captain, do you see him actually making a proper play? I'm not saying that you see him playing in this spot. I don't want to put you on the spot. But do you see him being a solid contender for 1, 2, 3? Do we agree that this is where he has to play? If he plays, this is where he should play.
I think so. I think just the performance speaks for itself. So when you're looking at this team right now, the traffic jam used to be at the top order earlier. Yeah. Now you go 1 to 7. I think there's traffic jam.
Yeah.
And that's the very positive sign for Indian cricket at this stage. So people are ready when they're coming at this level, and they're making it even tougher now for the other guys who've already been playing.
Yeah.
Which is a very, very great sign for Indian cricket to go forward in this format. So I would say, I think for anyone, it's going to be only and only about consistent performances.
Yeah.
So no one will be able to take their eyes off the ball. You got to be focused through and through, and you got to be able to just keep on pushing that bar, so that it is not. I feel gone are the days where you will be saying that okay, you have 1 good series, 2 good series, and your place is cemented in the side. Yeah. You will get opportunities. I think the cushion is getting smaller and smaller for all these players, which is going to push them to the limit with achieving that consistency.
Such a good point, yeah. But do you think he's kind of cemented his hat in the ring, or do you agree with Zach that he has battled consistency or a lack of it previously? We've spoken about it in IPLs as well, and when he's playing for Indian cricket. But where do you see it with Sanju right now, DK?
I think he's cemented his spot as an opener. Yashasvi Jaiswal and him will be the openers at least for some time to come in the T20 format.
Okay, good. I like it.
What about Shubman Gill? Huh? What about Shubman Gill?
Let's not counter question him right now. Let's not. I like that statement. Dinesh Karthik has just given a headline that all of you will be reading on your social media for the next 3 days, right? So just in case you read it, you know where it came from. All right, we're going to have a look at the squads or the 11s one more time. South Africa has won the toss again, decided to bowl first again. They have made the one change. Instead of Patrick Kruger, they have Reza Hendricks, who's come in. Probably will open with Ryan Rickelton, with the captain coming in at 3. They've got Stubbs, Klaasen and Miller. That's a very solid 4-5-6. A lot of firepower there. Plenty of experience with Miller as well. And then Jansen, second game for Andil Similane, Gerald Coetzee, Keshav Maharaj and Nakaba Peter. So that's their 11. I just want to focus on Gerald Coetzee. We'll do that just after we show you the Indian team. Unchanged. Obviously, after the win last time, they would be an unchanged team. The 3 spinners there, the 2 pacers and Hardik Pandya being the 3rd. Zach, I want to talk about Gerald Coetzee because, I mean, we've seen that there have been some 150-kilometer deliveries as well when he's been bowling in the IPL. Zach, not completely convinced about the authenticity of the speed gun in India, but even at the speed, let's forget the speed that he bowls at, which, speed guns differ with altitude and stuff as well. Just the aggression that he brings, which for a fast bowler, as you know, is just gold.
That's his strength. If you have to sum up how Gerald Coetzee approaches his bowling, is the aggression which is going to stand out. He likes to be in the fight all the time. He likes to take on the game. He will be constantly, he's got that look as well, isn't it, with bandana and stuff.
The Rambo headband.
Yeah. So he will focus on that. He thinks wickets. In the process, he's going for runs. But I feel that just still initial days for him at this level, for him to figure it out in terms of finding that right balance of aggression and doing the right thing in that particular situation. So that decision making process gets better and better as you play more. Experience adds to that. But other than that, he's got the variations. He's got the right attitude for him to be successful at this level.
I think it's a good point you make about the economy, because in the IPL, his economy is around 10, which is not alarming when you see the impact player and you see the flat wickets. You're thinking, okay, fine, you'll give somebody 10, right, in the IPL. That's okay. That's not crazy. But when you see his international giving away 10, now that's where the question comes. And DK, I'll ask you as a captain, are you okay with that if he's taking 1.5 wickets every game?
If you have two defensive bowlers along with him, then it is good.
Okay.
You need experience, someone who can obviously bowl at the other end, who can keep things much tighter, say around the 7 mark. Then together they come around the 8.5, then it makes sense. But him in isolation, 10 in the IPL is fair. But I think in international cricket, across venues, especially when you come from a country like South Africa, where it's in favor of fast bowlers, it's probably a tad bit high.
Do you see him getting the new ball today? He got a wicket in his first over when he bowled. I think that was the 4th over of the innings that he bowled, got Abhishek Sharma. Do you see him just get a new ball from one of the ends?
Not with the new ball. I think he will be used to finish the power play.
Okay.
So that is how I think Markram will be looking to use. Similane is someone who will be bowling with Marco Jansen, is what my gut feel is.
Okay. So we, of course, have a couple of things to do before we sign off. One is the joy factor question. So I'm going to bring that in right now, because this is something that always kind of pierces the balloon of our confidence. So here it is, this one. If the first is a West Indian captain, the third a Sri Lankan, followed by 2 Australians, who is the last on this white ball list? Is last means what? Last is what? 10th, 100th? What? Last? What does last mean, Joy?
That can mean anything.
Or the most recent?
Yeah.
This is my I'm pretending to think face. I have no idea. Zero. You know, DK? Do you know? You're smiling like somebody who knows.
That's my way of pretending.
That's good. I like it. All right. Score guesses now. India, of course, batting first. There's only one way that India bats, which is go big or go home. They are going to go big. How much are they going to get?
I'm going a little conservative. 171.
171. What about you?
190.
Okay, I just want to give you both some information which I have just seen from the corner of my eye, which is that we have, I'm saying, before you say it, I'll say it. We have managed to jinx Sanju Samson, and he's out for a duck. Right? There you go. So now, do you want to change your score guess?
No, 171.
So now if players, do you want to change your score guess now, DK?
No, I'm trying to think who is feeling worse. Is it me or Sanju Samson? I just backed him to be the next opener.
You did.
But
See?
I'll still stick to 190.
You still stick to 190. That leaves my favorite open, which is 181. What did you say?
You had enough time to calculate.
171, you said?
171.
So I'll say 182.
Okay.
Let's say 182.
You missed your favorite number, 183.
183 is my favorite number. I'll stick 182 because otherwise I'll go too close to him. So 182. I'll stick to 182. But we've done it to Sanju Samson. It's completely our fault. Shatak, Batak, 100 and duck. It's us. We did it. But this is going to be a cracker game for sure. We're going to come back at the end of the 10th over with Cricbuzz Combox, give you a little update on how the India batting effort is going. And then at the end of the 20th over, back right here with Cricbuzz Live. So be with us, please, through this Sunday evening or Sunday morning if you're the other side of the Atlantic. Big thank you to Zaheer Khan and Dinesh Karthik. I'm Gaurav Kapur. You were watching Cricbuzz Live. We'll see you in a while.